Welcome back to part 4 of the 400-gallon Bowfront Aquarium build-out. We've just come back from lunch. I finally satisfied the boys. And since the hardware store I needed to go to purchase the Roto-Zip was right next door to, you guessed it, McDonald's. So everybody got their Happy Meals and their happy tummies now. So if you've been following along, the filter won't fit into the stand. And we can't remove the top as the tank's already sitting on it. So what we have to do is cut a hole in the back of the stand. This will allow the filter to poke through the hole just far enough to allow the other end of the filter to completely slide into the stand.
Okay, take the sump out. And I'm going to go a little higher.
We need to cut a hole in the back of the stand that is at least 18 inches by 18 inches. While at lunch, I went into the hardware store and purchased what is called a Roto-Zip. It's sort of a cross between a handheld router and a sawzall. We'll use this to easily cut out the hole in the back of the stand.
That's how you fix that.
And with the opening removed from the back, we now need to remove the screws that hold it to the wall.
Alright, someone run downstairs and shut down the circuit.
And once we disassemble the electrical outlets, we can pull the tank and stand away from the wall.
Just the side.
And now comes the moment of truth. Will the opening that we've cut in the back of the stand actually allow the filter enough room to poke all the way through so that its back end can come inside the stand?
Okay, let's put it back.
Yeah,
It's too far.
Okay, what you saw was we cut out a section of the back of the stand. We bought a Roto-Zip or a handheld router and cut that out so we can poke the front corner of the filter through the back enough to get the back end of the filter inside the stand. It's a situation that happens quite often, and again, it's the result of a solid back on the stand. And typically that's cabinet guys who do that. And I've always said cabinet guys are not aquarium building guys, but you try to cross over and you try to think of all the issues, but invariably there's something you miss. Anyhow, the hole's cut, the filter's in place. I'm going to slide the whole tank and stand back in against the wall, and then we can hopefully start moving forward building the filter system. And with a big hee-ho, and maybe a second hee-ho, the stand and tank are now pushed back into position up against the wall. The next step is to screw the back of the stand to the wall and then reassemble the electrical outlets.
Put the electrical back together once again.
Within a few short minutes, the outlets are reinserted and the faceplates are screwed back into position.
And now I can do some touch-up stuff that I need to do. Put the vents on while you guys are doing your stuff. Condi, that doesn't look so bad. It is what it is, you know?
Other than the outline of where the saw cut was, the cutout is almost invisible.
That's all yours, man.
So now you would think we could begin to assemble the filter system? Actually, another thing we picked up at the hardware store was some extra shims for additional support under the stand's top deck. Tell me what you're doing.
We are putting in shims to help spread the load and make sure it spreads across the load of the frame evenly. That way it all spreads out equally.
Since this is a very big aquarium with a significantly large footprint and having the extra time, I decided it was best to take and add additional shims to the stand to ensure the aquarium's expected 4,000 pounds in filled weight is spread out and supported evenly. And finally, the installation of the aquarium stand is now complete.
Corner there.
We can begin to assemble the filter system. Knowing what I want to incorporate into the system, now is the time when I actually have to make it all fit together.
Both pumps.
Well, the other pump is over where you're at. So is the canister and so is the chiller.
Okay.
UV sterilizer's over here
Which pump are we
somewhere.
gonna put over there?
Milwaukee.
In addition to the filter system, we're also including into the system a refrigeration unit. So we have to make sure that we have positive ventilation at both ends of the aquarium
The
stand.
protein skimmer, which will be in here. And I also have to get the algae scrubber, which will lie across the end, this one, across there.
And as the last of the ventilation panels is installed, we continue to discuss the filter system.
So on. Hello, my name is Jim Stime. I'm with Midwater Systems, and I'm the developer of the Jelly Aquarium. The Jelly Aquarium is a tank designed specifically for the keeping of jellyfish. I offer 5 different sizes of tanks designed to be built into a wall or a freestanding cabinet. I also offer the inexpensive Mini Jelly Aquarium, which has its filter system built into its backside. Additionally, I offer tank-raised moon jellyfish, as well as a line of tanks designed for producing your own jellyfish. For more information on this fascinating world of keeping jellyfish, visit jellyaquarium.com.
And here are some exciting previews of future episodes. This episode deals with adding an algae scrubber onto an old reef tank and cleaning up the tank as well as the cabinet area. Will this tank continue to work without the protein skimmer? A couple of weeks ago, I came across a shipment of golden eels just in from Brazil. I picked up one for the 400-gallon Bowfront aquarium. She may look like a snake, but it's pretty hard to hide in a big tank when you're banana yellow. And in this episode, we built our own version of an algae scrubber. Only it's the entire filter by itself. We have a possible 90-gallon reef tank sale in the works. And our friend Rick is talking about setting up his 180-gallon reef tank again. Be sure to come on back again for these and other exciting opportunities with more of LA Fishguys.
Okay, so the plan at the moment is a 2-pump system. The first pump will be what we'll call filter circulation, which will be via that Milwaukee 55 pressure pump down there. Look at it. That's going to draw out of the sump, and that'll be the main filter pump. It's going to discharge and split its flow into 2. One of the flows will pass through the UV sterilizer. The other flow is going to come across the other side of the stand, which will go into that refrigeration unit. What I was just referring to was how we're going to do the plumbing, and I planned on doing most of that plumbing in hard pipe, but I can see soft tubing making the connection to the UV sterilizer, because the problem with UV sterilizers is they're so bulky And the only way to ever replace the bulb is almost to be able to remove the UV sterilizer. So you have to be smart and think about that now. And that's where the soft tubing will come in. At the other end will be the refrigeration unit, and I think I'm going to come out of it with soft tubing and then connect the in and the outlet with soft tubing, and maybe return the soft tubing up to that other return line there. I'll make those final decisions once we get close to it. The second pump is the circulation pump, which is that big pump in the back. It does 4,500 gallons an hour. That's going to draw directly from the tank via that intake strainer in the tank. We'll elevate it slightly so it's above the gravel level. That's going to suck straight down into that pump. That pump will discharge, and its discharge will split also into two. One side of its discharge will go into this nuclear canister filter that'll have the pleated cartridge in it. And the idea being that the water is sucked directly from the tank, passed through the pump, and then passes through the cartridge there. So that'll be what helps polish the water within inside the tank. And then its discharge will go to that far return, and the other half of its discharge will go to the other side. We'll put ball valves in there so that we can control the flow from left to right. So I'm going to have two means of water flow in the tank. One will be this Iwaki water pump, which does, it's a Iwaki 55, does about 1,000 gallons an hour. And then the other pump, which is the QM research pump, does 4,500 gallons an hour. So I should be able to get a lot of water movement within the tank. So that's the plan. We'll see how it actually comes together as we assemble it.
And with every good plan, one has to be prepared to make some modifications. As with getting the filter into the stand, there's bound to be some other issue.
I do plan on having valves. And here's something to keep in mind. I think we should have valves up there, I mean, as you just said, not so much bypasses, but if something goes wrong, we can shut down and remove pieces, kind of like what we did with
Have
Chet's
you had a
tank.
bypass for...
For me, the starting point is the flexible drain lines coming out of the bottom of the internal overflow.
All right, so you've got your vents in place.
Yes, I'm done. All I gotta do is put the canopy in.
Okay, so what's
All I really
your...
need to do is just make sure the canopy fits, and I can split probably. Unless you guys want me to hang around.
Well, you are here, so we're going to utilize you as long as we can. We still need to kind of finish the filter system and then allow you to put in those vertical supports. We may end up pushing this.
You don't block your vent.
I'm trying not to, but
Oh, there you go, right there, actually. That would be all right. That'd be okay.
just a hair further, maybe. Okay, so right about there is where that's probably going to go. What are you thinking there? So this is always where the time-consuming part is. I mean, aside from having to wait for the cabinet guy to finish all his little things, which took 6 hours. This is where...
6 hours because of poor planning on LA Fishguys problem.
Defining the plumbing system and how it's all going to work. I mean, I have an idea as to what pumps I want to use, where I want certain things, but hooking it together and making it look good is really part of the art of doing plumbing, because plumbing isn't just a whole bunch of hoses. I mean, many people...
Neither is finished carpentry.
Many people spend as much time looking in the tank. Let me rephrase that. Many people spend as much time looking in the cabinet as they do the tank. So again, plumbing is art, and it's got to be done attractively.
Knowing what I want in the cabinet is one thing. Finding appropriate locations for it is another.
Keep in mind, we could put one of those bars somewhere too. They go down to help hold things if you want.
Oh, one of those vertical
Yeah,
support
you
things?
can put it here, you can put it here, you can put it over there.
Where does it rest?
That-
Underneath these?
Yeah, underneath these.
What he is referring to are additional vertical supports that we can place inside the stand. The advantage is they're not just to support the tank, but we can also attach equipment to it.
Forward, what for?
So you put that back there, I don't know.
Well,
What about your thing that you're putting up top? You know what I mean? Does
what
it have
thing that I'm
enough-
putting up top?
the Santa Monica?
Yeah, that's sitting right here.
Yeah, but is it far enough from the back of the tank? to where it's gonna sit, you know.
I didn't
That tray,
understand.
the tray, there's a
It'll
tray
hook
that,
here and it'll come out this direction. So
Okay.
really over here
But
is
the drill-
not
but
the
the-
right place for this. Horizontally up here is probably the better place for it. I'm trying to avoid getting in the way of right here because I think that from here down and all the way across is where those two return lines are passing through.
And while it's good to have a complete plan, I may be getting ahead of myself and should actually concentrate on what the next step really
There's a
is.
whole bag of it
And that's
somewhere
the
around here,
position
and
of
it's
the
not up
water
here.
pump
It's
that
in
drives the
the
wet-dry
fan.
trickle filter. More specifically, drilling the hole for that water pump. This is always a nervous time for me. Maybe it's because I cracked the sump many years ago doing the same thing. Or maybe I'm just overly cautious. Regardless, I'm gonna drill the pilot hole first.
What'd you say?
Make sure to come on back for part 5 to see if I cracked the sump as well.